Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I'm excited today to be talking to Coach Tony Vu at Coker University. Welcome, Coach.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You got a nice kind of small Division II school up in South Carolina. I can say up because I'm down in Florida. But let's talk initially about the recruiting side of things. I'm surprised you're sitting there in South Carolina and not down here in Bradenton, since the ECNL Florida event is happening about 3 miles down the road here from me. But when it comes to recruiting, I mean, it's January. Are you guys locked in your class for this upcoming year, or are you still
Sure.
working on that? Kind of what's your timeline usually each year on the women's side?
Yeah, it's our first season at Coker. We're a new staff. Our head coach coached at Berry University in Miami, and then Nova Southeastern on the east coast of Florida. So we are still recruiting for the class of 23. We're still trying to finalize a couple more spots for us, but typically, this time of year, we would start on the class of 24. But like I said, it's our first season, so we kind of are catching up in terms of the 23 class. We're at the ECNL RL event in Sanford. We just came back up to South Carolina.
All right,
That's
I'll
more,
let it slide. I'll let it slide.
yeah, I got you. That's more of our level in terms of recruits, and also the DPL level, which I knew was in South Florida at the same time. So we're still trying to bring the program back to relevance, as we had our best season in 7 years. So definitely on the radar now with recruits. We just signed a recruit from Clearwater, Florida, from Florida Celtic. So definitely getting more recognition, notice in Florida. I know typically we have our players in the Carolinas, and then within the region. Looking for more 23s. We have an ID camp January 22nd on a Sunday. So typically we like to get our recruits from our ID camps to kind of showcase that once you come to our ID camp, you'll get evaluated and noticed, and then hopefully be offered a spot on a team. So,
Gotcha. Well, you mentioned camps. So do you guys do longer camps, just ID camps? How many you plan to do? Do you guys work other camps, like other schools or things like Future 500, that sort of stuff?
sure. So we have our ID camp, which is 1 day, uh, and then typically it's in January, maybe April at the end of the spring season. We'll have two in the summer, June and July, and then we'll also have one in October during the season. So, like I said, definitely looking to offer recruits at our ID camps, but we also do other schools' ID camps within the area. I was just at Coastal Carolina a couple weeks ago. We do also the exact camps, also the CCSC camps in the area. So definitely looking for players, recruits all the time, as we're a new program. So trying to
Sure.
put our stamp and win. We're looking to win going forward.
Sure. Well, you mentioned DPL, ECNLR. My daughter's club would have been there too, so maybe you saw
Okay.
some of those players. Great. But what other tournaments are kind of must hit? Where do you guys look to go on the kind of tournament circuit?
Sure. Within our region, we want to stay within our region, as demographically, in the past, we've seen players in the Carolinas, from Georgia. We have some players from Ohio, Virginia. So definitely on the East Coast. And then we were recently at the NCFC College Showcase. I know that's a huge one. And then clubs like Charlotte Independence is going to have one in a couple of weeks. South Carolina Surf, um, Charlotte Soccer Academy. So definitely from those clubs and those showcases, we'll definitely hit. And then Florida, the ECNLRs. I was at ODP, the interregionals in I think November. So definitely trying to see everybody on the East Coast and especially within our region.
Okay. Well, whether it's at a tournament or ID camp or any of those things, what's your hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player when you're recruiting there for Coker?
Sure. So initially, we're looking for good people. We want to recruit uh, players with great character, high GPAs in the classroom, as we believe that your GPA translates on the field and shows that you're hardworking, you're dedicated on and off the field. Um, and then, technically, we're looking for players who have good ball control, great first touch, can control the ball under pressure in tight spaces. And then, looking for players who also can switch the point of attack and then obviously score in the attacking third. But like I said, good people first, and then soccer players after.
Okay. Now, I know you guys are a new staff, but you look at the current roster and it's almost all domestic players, and there tends to be this Division II focus on international players these days, but more on the men's side than the women's. But even at the women's, are you guys looking at international players at all? And has the transfer portal kind of affected your recruiting? Are you looking in there at all?
Sure. So we actually have a Swedish player coming in this spring. She just got on campus last week, so very excited to have her come in. So we also have a couple other internationals. We have one from New Zealand, a forward. We have a German player attacking mid, and then we also have a Lebanese center back who is on the Lebanese national team. So very very excited about our prospects. And yes, we do look to internationals to help revamp our program. And especially the next 2 years is very important for us in terms of future recruits and getting back to relevance. So looking at more players from the United Kingdom, England or Scotland. Our head coach is Scottish, so he has some connections over there. So looking to get more internationals to kind of bring in and help diversify our squad and our program. A lot of our domestic players are very intrigued and really like our internationals who come in to kind of broaden their perspective on culture, and it's a great melting pot at our school.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't let you go without asking about the key component for parents here, and that's what's it going to cost me. So I'm not
Sure.
holding you any hard numbers here, but can you just give
Okay.
me an overall uh, look at what does it cost to attend? How do
Sure.
scholarships fit in, whether that's academic and or athletic? Do you guys stack that sort of thing to
Sure.
to help get a picture of cost of attendance?
Yeah. We are a small private liberal arts university. So we play in the South Atlantic Conference, which all of the schools in there are private institutions. So our tuition is 42,000, and then based on your GPA, academically you can get between 10,000 and 15,000, and then off the bat. So discounted rate for the parents, and then we do stack athletic and academic scholarships. So coming in internationals, we tend to give more scholarship because they are coming far away to help them out. But domestically, depending on your level, depending on coming in, if you can make an immediate impact and start, um, we there's an option to give you athletic scholarship. But we do have some walk-ons that potentially can get athletic scholarship as they progress into their sophomore and junior year. So coming in, you do get academic scholarship, so it's not like you're paying 42,000 off the bat, and then you have the opportunity to earn athletic scholarship, and even more. We had a player who's a sophomore this year from North Carolina, is on athletic scholarship, but she did very well this season, so we added extra athletic scholarship to her aid. So definitely opportunities to increase your aid as you go on.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the schools. I'm sure there's some folks out there not familiar with Coker. I had the pleasure of working with a previous men's coach from Coker many moons ago when I worked the University of South Carolina camps. Uh, but you know, give me some things. I know you're new, so what are some of the things you've discovered about Coker besides what's on the website that you think really make it stand out?
I really like the town, the small town atmosphere. It's like a family in our community. Everybody knows each other. If you go to Walmart, you'll see someone you know. And then uh, what I really, have noticed is everybody supports you in the community, as faculty, staff, athletic department. Everybody's there for each other. So there's about 1,000 to 1,100 students on campus, and mainly student athletes. So there's a 12 student to one professor ratio typically in the classroom. So a lot of engagement from your professors, a lot of personable time to stay after, talk about your class, talk about what's going on, if you need extra help, if you need an extension. Professors are very empathetic, and are more than willing to work with you there. So we have staff and faculty come out to our games, support the players. We'll talk to players afterwards, and the student athletes really love that aspect, where they're going to see their professors outside of the classroom, and they know that they'll be there at their games. So some other things. The campus is quite small. It takes about 5 minutes to walk everywhere on campus. So you should never be late to a class. And then also uh, just the camaraderie and the culture of the campus. Our president, we have a new president, Dr. Harder. She does a great job of getting everybody on the same page. And within our 5-year plan, she wants the school to regress to new heights. So that's very exciting for our university.
Sure. Well, on the academic side of things, how do your student athletes really balance those commitments between the sport and their studies, and what kind of support systems does the university offer to help them in that?
Sure. Our classes are typically from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we never have practice during the mornings. Usually, if we have an away trip, there'll be a 7 or 7:30 practice before class, and then you'll be dismissed. So soccer never comes first. School is always first, and then practices are either from 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 p.m. or our men's team is 8 to 10 p.m. sometimes. So balancing school and soccer, we have study hall hours, which they can knock out 3 hours a week. And then if they need extra help or extra study hall hours, they can come up to the office in our athletic facility and have quiet time there to kind of focus on studies, and then not have distractions from roommates or the library. So definitely a lot of support with our coaches. We want a high GPA for the team average. So definitely that's very important to us. And then there's free tutoring that's offered in the libraries. And then English, math. There's a writing lab. So all the STEM programs, it's all free to students. So definitely, we want our student athletes to take advantage of that. And then balancing school. They can on away trips they can do their homework on the bus. I know it's not ideal sometimes, but we really preach time management skills, and then in your off time, you want to rest and recover, but also get your studies done so that you can plan ahead for on and off the field.
No, okay, great. Wait, you mentioned it a little bit, but can you just really quickly walk me through a typical week during a season in terms of classes, meals, practice, games, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so weight training is usually Monday and Thursdays, and that's before class in the morning. And then uh, practices are usually Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes Fridays. And then games are Wednesdays and Saturdays. So they'll go to class, eat breakfast, go to school until 4, and then they can either have dinner before if it's a later practice, or they can eat after if it's a practice from 5 to 6. We have an option in the cafeteria for student athletes for afterwards to get a meal before they go to bed or finish their studies. And then study hall hours typically are um, on a day where there's no practice, so they can go to study hall, or if it's after practice from like a 4 to 6 practice. And then game days, we have a scouting report where there's video analysis to go over the opponent, and then things we did well in practice or in the games previously, or things we need to improve on or look out for. So we continue to have success on the field. And then we typically have a family meal before games, before or after, depending on what the female players prefer.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the players and on the field stuff and the soccer side of things, right? So, is there a roster size that you guys are trying to hit every year that you find is ideal?
Sure. So we have between 23 and 26 typically. Uh, in the future, we want to get up to about 30 players to keep practices competitive. And as you know, injuries during the season can accumulate. So we always want to have the best 11 on the field, and always want to travel with the best 20 to 22 players for away trips. But I think 25 is our ideal number of players where we want, where there's enough competition, and there's enough playing time for players to compete for.
Okay. And in terms of your staff, obviously you're on the women's staff as one of the assistants, and I know you help out with the men as well with a goalkeeping focus. But can you talk to me a little about the overall staff, and really you could talk about both teams if you want,
Sure.
about what that looks like, how the teams interact, that sort of thing.
Sure. We have great head coaches where they give us freedom to work independently and take on more administrative tasks and more of the coaching aspect in practices. So really grateful for head coaches that want their assistants to grow as individuals and as soccer coaches. So on the men's side, there's 3 coaches, including myself. The the main assistant and I help with the developmental team on the men's side, and then on the women's side, we only have one team. So I'll help the head coach during practices, taking some of maybe it's a technical warm up or some tactical aspects in the practice, and then also set pieces. I'll also lead or help out with. But my main focus is the goalkeepers on both sides. But in terms of the women's program, I have a lot of responsibilities in terms of helping on the field and also administratively.
Okay. Well, when it comes to on the field play, how would you describe the team style of play and your head coach's style of coaching and kind of what is that culture of the team on the women's side?
Sure. On the women's side, it's more possession based. We want to keep the ball moving from side to side. So we want to swing the ball, and this past season, we've played more on the counter to catch teams off guard in open spaces on the weak side, either playing balls through the middle, breaking lines, or crossing the ball. Like to play a lot of hold up play with our striker. So we have principles at our in our program. So some of the principles are ball control, playing in the other half as much as we can, keeping possession, and then defensively winning the ball back as quickly as we can, and pressing. So in terms of player management, we want to get to know our players individually and collectively as a group. So this past season, we've tried to hit hard on getting to know each player, know their personalities, so that we can manage them better in the games and help them go through the games and be successful to get a result.
Okay. Well, are there any um, sorts of technologies that you guys employ, whether that's in practice or games, and what does that look like?
Sure. So we use Huddle for our video analysis, and then also we use Flow Sports through our conference. So a lot of the games we'll edit and cut our from the Flow Sports, and then we use Huddle to help players, see what they did well, see what they need to improve on, and then how to attack or defend against the opponent during our scouting reports with the team. So players will get individual emails of their clips, and then they're always welcome to come up to the office if they have questions about what to do, how to defend the space or how to attack the space. So we're always very willing to have that open door policy because we want to have players that are engaged on their own and watch film and watch highlights of pro games and or just very interested in the soccer aspect and wanting to improve on the field so that they're better prepared for the next game.
No, I love that. Um, well, we're talking in January, so your season's over and we get the spring coming up. So what will your I mean, I don't even know if your students are back yet, but what's that spring gonna look like for the players in that non-traditional season?
Sure. We're excited to have a proper spring. Um, I know last spring they had an interim coach for the women's side, but this spring we're excited to work on small groups and individual work, mainly on the technical side of the game. So sharpening up on skills, learning how to control the ball properly, first touch, aerial balls out of the air, um, and then like I said, a lot of individual work and small group work. So we'll work mainly with maybe the forwards and attackers in one practice, and other practices we'll work with the back line and learning how to play out of the back, breaking lines into the middle, and then midfields and forwards will work with each other on finishing and crossing, and then tactically working on the formations we want to employ going forward. And then we'll have a couple, at least 3 to 4 spring games, and then trying to just experiment with our players that we do have on campus and seeing how they fit in to our fall season next semester. So it's our first day of classes today, so very excited to have all the students back on campus. We'll start next week in terms of practicing. We want to give this first week for our new transfers and new 23s coming in to kind of get accustomed to campus life and just get everybody to you know get going in their classes.
Sure.
And then also we have 4 days a week with our strength and conditioning coach. So spring will be a great time to bulk up and be prepared to be more physical as our conference is very physical, and we want to be prepared for that also. So very excited to be working with our student athletes again. Very excited to get better collectively and individually, and also as a coaching staff. It'll give me time to work more with the players and get to know them better in terms of coaching them in practice. We missed out on playoffs by 4 points in the fall. Our goal was to just be in the playoffs. But with this spring, if everybody can get 5% better individually, we'll definitely make playoffs next year. So this is where the work begins, right? In the spring and prepare and be ready for the fall.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate all the time, and we've covered a lot of different topics, but I always like to end these the same way, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else do you want folks to know, whether that's about recruiting, about college soccer in general, the school, your team, anything that you want to say? I'll give you the last minute here.
Great. Yeah, we are looking for some 23 still. Goalkeepers mainly. Also forwards, center mids. But we want to win at our program, and we want to start changing the culture to a winning mentality. So, looking for players that have great character, grit, determination, and want to be engaged in the games for the full 90 minutes. So, definitely an exciting time for us. We want to compete and start beating the top teams in our conference. So definitely watch out for us, and then excited to be here at Coker and change the program around.
Awesome. Well, Coach, we wish you the best of luck in all those pursuits,
Great.
and we'll keep an eye on you. And if you're if, I don't know if you're going to Philly this week for the convention, but if you are, stop by and say hello. And if not, hopefully we'll see you down here in Florida at one of these recruiting events, and we can hang out in person. All right.
For sure. Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for the time.
Thank you, Coach.